What if the richest man on earth doesn't appear on any billionaire list? What if his wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in power, fear, and silence? Today we'll take you inside the secret empire of Vladimir Putin, a shadow world of hidden palaces, billion-dollar yachts, ghost families, and deadly truths. And trust me, the most shocking part? You haven't even seen it yet. At minute 7, we'll reveal the secret location of a floating fortress that rivals the Titanic, and no one is officially allowed to own it. What if the richest man in the world never appears on a Forbes list? Vladimir Putin's estimated personal net worth, ranging from 300 to 500 billion, is already staggering. But experts say this is merely the surface of a much deeper web. His true fortune lies buried beneath a labyrinth of front companies, loyal oligarchs, and even the Russian state itself, camouflaged so meticulously that its boundaries blur between personal and national wealth. Unlike traditional billionaires, Putin doesn't need to own assets outright. Russia's vast natural resources, its sovereign wealth funds, state-owned energy giants, and even the central bank are under his direct influence. With a signature or even a whisper, he can move mountains of money. This is not just wealth, it's structural domination of an entire economy. His empire isn't built on public stocks or tech startups. It's rooted in loyalty, fear, and silence. Those who understand how deep the rabbit hole goes know one thing. Putin doesn't just have wealth, he is wealth. He embodies a financial power structure that transcends ownership and transforms influence into untouchable control. Putin's financial footprint stretches across layers of state machinery that protect and disguise it. Through trusted allies, shell corporations, and anonymous real estate deals, the fortune flows like an underground river, present everywhere, yet almost impossible to trace. Russia itself becomes the vault, and the key is held in Putin's hand alone. While the combined wealth of all adult Russians is estimated at $3.8 trillion, many experts believe Putin can access a significant portion of it. How? Because in Russia, power means access. State-owned companies become piggy banks. Wealthy allies become unofficial treasurers, and offshore accounts become invisible threads connecting the dictator to global finance. The brilliance of this system is in its invisibility. No paper trail, no direct links, just loyal intermediaries who understand the stakes. The structure is so impenetrable, even international investigations have barely scratched the surface, and those who try often end up silenced. What if owning nothing gave you more power than owning everything? Putin has no need for personal titles, deeds, or bank accounts. His control is embedded in the very institutions of the Russian state. He doesn't sign documents. He issues commands. He doesn't acquire. He claims. Like a 21st century czar, Putin rules not by wealth, but through access. He can live in any palace, sail any yacht, or fly any jet, not because he bought them, but because those who did owe him their lives, their fortunes, or both. His presence is like gravity in Russia, unseen but inescapable. This dynamic makes Putin virtually untouchable. Sanctions may freeze foreign assets, but how do you freeze an empire that officially belongs to no one? While oligarchs play chess with their fortunes, Putin built the board, and the game is rigged in his favor. Vladimir Putin's rise to power wasn't born in gold, it was forged in grit. He grew up in a crumbling, communal apartment in Leningrad, sharing space, food, and silence. His family, descendants of humble peasants, knew struggle intimately. It wasn't wealth that shaped him, it was survival. His grandfather, Spiridon Putin, once served as the personal chef to Lenin and Stalin, a man who cooked meals while absorbing state secrets. His father returned from war a wounded hero, but lived in obscurity. Young Vladimir, quiet and cold-eyed, absorbed it all. The pride, the pain, the discipline. Poverty didn't break him, it sharpened him. It made him study systems, learn patience, and perfect the art of silence. From schoolyard scuffles to KGB training, he didn't fight to win. He fought to dominate. And with each step, he climbed deeper into the machine, until one day he became the machine itself. Long before Vladimir Putin held the reins of Russia, his family had already entered the halls of power, quietly. Spiridon Putin, his grandfather, wasn't just any chef. He cooked for the architects of the Soviet Union, Lenin, Stalin, names etched in blood and steel. In the kitchens of tyranny, Spiridon heard things few ever did. Recipes weren't the only secrets he held, and while he didn't wield a weapon, he served those who did. This proximity to power, even through a humble profession, planted the seed of destiny in young Vladimir's bloodline. It was an inheritance not of money, but of insight. To serve power is to understand it, and perhaps in his grandfather's quiet dignity and access, Vladimir learned that the path to control doesn't always start with a gun. Sometimes it starts with a plate. Was right. His environment was ruthless. Poverty, crime, and political paranoia. While other boys dreamed of fame or freedom, Putin's eyes were fixed on one goal: mastering the system. Not to fight it, but to one day control it from the inside. He was not forged in privilege. He was sculpted by scarcity. This cold upbringing didn't harden him emotionally. It sharpened his instincts. It turned him into someone who doesn't just read people, he dissects them. And it's this emotional detachment, this internal stillness, that would become his greatest weapon in a world ruled by power and fear. In 1975, a young law graduate entered the KGB, the most feared intelligence agency in the Soviet Union. It wasn't glamorous or cinematic. It was methodical, brutal, and deeply psychological. Over 17 years, Putin didn't just learn spycraft, he became the embodiment of it. His role wasn't to chase down villains or leap across rooftops. He was a watcher, a listener, a manipulator. He learned how to turn secrets into leverage, weaknesses into tools, and silence into a weapon. The KGB taught him that real control isn't loud, it's invisible. By the time the Soviet Union collapsed, Putin didn't leave the game. He became the game. With no more USSR and no more KGB, he slid into the political vacuum like a ghost slipping through a cracked door. The furnace of espionage had molded him into something more than a man. He was now an instrument of power. When Boris Yeltsin unexpectedly named Vladimir Putin his successor in 1999, the world barely blinked. He was a quiet figure, a political outsider, almost invisible. But that was the point. He didn't walk into power, he slid into it, without fanfare, without resistance, like water filling a void. In a matter of months, he went from anonymous bureaucrat to prime minister, then president. It was the political equivalent of a magic trick. By the time anyone noticed, it was already done. And what looked like luck was, in reality, years of planning and precise manipulation behind closed doors. What followed wasn't just a presidency, it was a transformation of the Russian political landscape. Checks and balances were removed. Opponents were silenced. Allies were rewarded. And slowly, term limits became meaningless. Democracy faded into a memory. Russia had a new ruler, and he wasn't leaving. Behind one of the most powerful men in the world lies a personal life shrouded in mystery. Putin married Lyudmila, a graceful and intelligent flight attendant, in 1983. Their union began like any other, but as Putin ascended into the shadows of power, she faded from view. They had two daughters, Maria and Katerina, but from an early age their lives were buried beneath a blanket of secrecy. No interviews, no photographs, no school records. Even their names were changed. They were raised like ghosts in a world of privilege few ever see. In 2013, after 3 decades of marriage, the couple quietly divorced, live on state television, like a formality more than a separation. Since then, Lyudmila has disappeared from the public eye entirely. Rumors swirl about a new partner, a former gymnast, possibly even more children. But like everything in Putin's world, the truth is buried deeper than most dare to dig. Unlike the daughters of Western leaders, Maria and Katerina never graced magazine covers or appeared at political galas. Instead, they live in a realm of controlled silence, hidden identities, private tutors, and unmatched security. But don't mistake invisibility for simplicity. Their lives are soaked in opulence. Katerina once married the son of a powerful oligarch in a secret wedding at a private ski resort, complete with laser shows, artificial ice rinks, and no media in sight. Their divorce revealed shared assets worth over $2 billion. Maria pursued medicine and genetics, quietly leading state projects, until her presence vanished from public records entirely. They live surrounded by gold, but imprisoned by shadows. No social media, no interviews. Their existence is proof that in Putin's world, true power doesn't seek the spotlight. It hides from it, because being seen is a risk, and in their father's empire, invisibility is the ultimate luxury. When Katerina, Putin's younger daughter, got married in 2013, it wasn't just a celebration, it was a statement. The event was held at a secret ski resort outside Leningrad, cloaked in darkness from the outside world. There were no tabloids, no public announcements, just lasers, music, and the quiet coronation of a new generation of elite power. Her husband, Kirill Shamalov, was no ordinary man. He was the son of a major oligarch with deep ties to Putin's inner circle. Their marriage wasn't just romantic, it was strategic, a fusion of wealth and influence designed to consolidate control. And yet not a single official photo has ever been confirmed. The silence surrounding their union was as deliberate as the opulence. When they divorced in 2018, the world learned their shared assets totaled nearly $2 billion. But beyond those figures lies something more unsettling: the extent to which the elite operate in complete secrecy, immune to the transparency expected of modern power. Rising above the Black Sea like a modern-day Versailles is a structure so surreal it could be mistaken for fiction. Known simply as Putin's Palace, this $1.35 billion compound spans nearly 190,000 square feet, complete with no-fly zones, armed guards, and layers of impenetrable security. It's not just a home, it's a sovereign domain. Inside lies a world few can imagine: gold-trimmed salons, a private casino, a marble swimming pool, even a luxury hookah lounge, and an eyebrow grooming room fit for royalty. It's not a residence. It's a fortress of indulgence, built not just to comfort, but to intimidate. A monument to the idea that real power doesn't ask permission. Exposed by Alexei Navalny in a bombshell investigation, the palace shocked the world. Millions watched. Documents were revealed, floor plans dissected. But Putin, he offered no response, no denial, no confirmation, just silence. Because in his world, silence isn't avoidance, it's control. While one palace may anchor Putin's power on land, his empire extends far beyond the coastlines. Floating silently across oceans is a fleet of yachts that defies comprehension. These are not leisure vessels. They are floating fortresses, off-the-grid command centers designed to vanish as easily as they appear. The graceful, the Olympia, the legendary Scheherazade. Each ship a masterpiece, decked in walnut wood, armored suites, and surveillance-proof conference rooms. The crew, Russian security personnel. The ownership, obscured behind offshore companies and complex financial webs. No legal ties, yet every element screams presidential privilege. And then there's the Rossiya, a rumored $1.5 billion mega yacht nicknamed the Invincible Titanic, reportedly capable of stealth evasion and naval command. This is where Putin's power truly hides: in international waters, untouchable, untraceable, and perfectly legal. At sea, he is free and more dangerous than ever. In the skies, Putin reigns from above. His private air fleet includes over 50 aircraft, but the crown jewel is the IL-96-300 a $70 million airborne fortress. Outfitted with military-grade encrypted communications, signal jamming tech, and a mobile nuclear command module, this isn't a plane, it's an aerial government. The inside is no less extravagant. Gold-trimmed rooms, secure conference halls, private luxury suites. From 35,000 feet, Putin can wage wars, issue commands, or disappear entirely. Each flight is mirrored by a decoy aircraft, ensuring no one knows exactly where the real power lies. The symbolism is unmistakable. On land, at sea, and in the air, Putin doesn't travel. He rules. And in a world where even the sky can be hostile, he's turned flight into dominance. Where most leaders are vulnerable in transit, Putin becomes untouchable. Putin's vehicles aren't for transportation, they're for survival. The Oris Senate, his main ride, is a $700,000 armored beast that can withstand landmines, sniper fire, and even biological attacks. Inside, it's as regal as it is secure. Italian leather, gold trim, and a command center disguised as a luxury seat. For international missions, he opts for the Mercedes-Benz S-Class Pullman Guard, a limousine as long as a tank and just as indestructible. This vehicle isn't just built to protect, it's built to intimidate. With tires that function while shredded and escape hatches built for emergency extraction, it sends one clear message. Putin is never unprepared. Each car is more than metal and engine. It's a symbol of strength, of paranoia, of invincibility. And whether on parade or in convoy, his wheels never just roll. They remind the world that he moves through it on his own terms. For most people, a watch is just a way to tell time. For Vladimir Putin, it's a message. Each timepiece on his wrist is a whisper of dominance, a silent roar of wealth. His collection, worth over $700,000, includes ultra-rare pieces from Elang and Sona, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron Constantin, brands worn by kings and billionaires. The crown jewel, a turbograph pour le mérite, valued at over $500,000. One of only 51 ever made, crafted in Germany with platinum casing in sapphire crystal. It's not just a watch, it's a monument to supremacy. And yet, in 2009, Putin casually removed a $10,000 Blancpain off his wrist and gifted it to a reindeer herder in Siberia. There were no cameras, no PR spin, just a myth being born. Because when a man gives away a watch worth more than a village, he isn't losing time. He's showing the world he owns it. In Putin's world, even seconds serve him. You never see them coming. Putin's personal security force, nicknamed the Musketeers, are not bodyguards, they're ghosts. Recruited from Russia's elite Federal Protective Service, FSO, these men are trained in hand-to-hand combat, espionage, psychological warfare, and even acting. They are invisible until they need to strike, and by then, it's too late. They don't just protect Putin, they surround him. At summits, they're drivers. At events, they're photographers. In a crowd, they blend in like air. Each stands between 5 feet 9 inches and 6 feet 3 inches, with perfect physique, lightning reflexes, and minds programmed for protection. They're the firewall between Putin and the unpredictable chaos of the world. This isn't a security detail. It's a moving fortress, and it's why Putin can walk through a hostile world with the calm of a man in his own living room. Because when you control every angle, you don't fear the bullet, you eliminate the possibility. In Putin's Russia, control doesn't just come from tanks and troops. It comes through screens, servers, and silence. The digital landscape is carefully engineered to mute dissent and promote narrative. Independent media outlets are shuttered. Journalists vanish. The internet, filtered through firewalls and fear. Algorithms don't just push propaganda, they erase contradiction. Bloggers are watched, VPNs are blocked. Even memes can lead to prison time. It's not just censorship, it's psychological warfare, designed to make citizens question what's real and what's worth risking their freedom for. And those who persist, they're not silenced with debate, they're silenced with disappearance. In a world where information is the new battleground, Putin has built a digital iron curtain thicker than any concrete wall from the Cold War. Because in the 21st century, control is coded. Some fought him with words, others with investigations, but they all ended the same, silenced. Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist who exposed the horrors of Chechnya, shot in her apartment elevator. Alexander Litvinenko, poisoned with radioactive polonium in London. His final words, "Putin did this." The list is long: oligarchs, lawyers, defectors, whistleblowers. One by one, they vanished, through suspicious suicides, mysterious falls, or fatal accidents. And though the Russian state often denies involvement, the pattern is chilling. Every voice that threatens the empire becomes an echo lost in the cold Russian air. In Putin's world, truth is the most dangerous weapon, and those who wield it must be prepared to die for it. But even in death, they leave behind a warning, spoken not in words but in absence. When one man controls the land, the sky, the sea, and the very flow of information, what's left for the people? Vladimir Putin's empire is not just built on wealth or fear, it's built on silence. a silence enforced by loyalty, masked by luxury, and paid for in blood. But power has a paradox. The tighter you grip it, the more fragile it becomes. Beneath the golden ceilings and billion-dollar yachts lies a truth that refuses to die. No regime is eternal, and even the strongest fortress can be breached from within. The final question isn't how rich he is,